Welcome to The Explainer. I'm seriously so excited to have you here today. We're going to dive straight into the unseen infrastructure that powers, well, literally every aspect of our daily lives. Think about it for a second. The lights above you, the screen you're watching this on right now, the fridge keeping your food cold, the whole shebang relies on this hidden network of copper and current running right behind your drywall. But how does it actually work? Well, let's find out.
So, I want to pose this question to you right off the bat. What really happens behind those walls? And, maybe more importantly, are you ready to wire safely? Look, electricity is an absolutely incredible force. But let's be crystal clear from the jump here. It is totally unforgiving. The stakes when it comes to electrical safety, they are as high as they get. But hey, don't worry. By the time we finish this explainer, you're going to have a much clearer understanding of exactly how to handle this invisible power safely. Okay, here's our blueprint for today. First, fundamentals of electrical systems. Second, crucial safety protocols. Third, planning, codes, and permits. Fourth, understanding household circuits. And finally, testing and final inspection. Let's get into it.
Section 1. Fundamentals of Electrical Systems.
All right, so before we even think about picking up a single tool, we absolutely have to understand the physical forces at play here. Let's take these sort of invisible, abstract concepts and make them a bit more tangible, using the classic water pipe analogy. So voltage, that's the force or pressure. Think of it as the actual water pressure pushing through a pipe. Then you've got current, which is the flow of electricity itself, just like the actual water moving through that pipe. And resistance? Well, that's the impedance, or the restriction. Imagine narrowing that water pipe. The flow gets restricted, right? Now, if resistance is too high, current flow drops. But if resistance is too low, you get excessive current flow, and that is exactly what can lead to rapid overheating or, worst-case scenario, fires inside your walls. Grasping this balance is literally the foundation of everything we're talking about today.
And to do all this safely, we really need a shared vocabulary before we go any deeper. So let's map out the basic components you'll find in residential wiring. First up, a wire. This is just a single conductor, usually copper, coated with insulation. A cable, on the other hand, is a bundle of those wires encased together in a protective sheath to keep them isolated from their environment. Then you've got the electrical panel. That's the central board distributing power throughout the entire home, and it's protected by circuit breakers. These things are brilliant. They act as the brain of your system, automatically stopping the flow of electricity if there's an overload or a short circuit. And finally, of course, we have outlets for plugging your devices and switches for controlling the flow.
Section 2. Crucial Safety Protocols.
Now, I say this with the utmost seriousness. This is absolutely the most critical part of our explainer, because like we said, electrical work doesn't give second chances. So here are your golden rules. Rule number 1, always, and I mean always, turn off the power at the main supply or breaker before you touch anything. Never guess. Use a voltage tester so you're 100% sure the circuit is dead. Rule number 2, use insulated tools. Things like insulated screwdrivers and wire strippers are your absolute best friends here. Why? Because if you accidentally tap a live wire, they ensure your body doesn't suddenly become the path of least resistance straight to the ground. And finally, wear your personal protective equipment, gloves and safety glasses. Proper prep drastically reduces the risk of accidents.
Next, I really want you to notice the difference between two concepts that get confused all the time: grounding versus bonding. They work together, sure, but they do very different things. Grounding involves connecting electrical systems directly to the earth, literally a path straight down into the dirt below your house. This gives excess electricity a safe avenue to dissipate if there's a fault. Think lightning strikes or massive power surges. Now, bonding, on the other hand, involves physically connecting all the exposed metal parts of an electrical system together. This ensures everything has the exact same electrical potential. That way, if you touch two different metal casings at the exact same time, you won't become the human bridge for electricity to flow through. And that is exactly what prevents a deadly electric shock.
When dealing with wiring, following a standardized color code is essential for safety and consistency. Generally speaking, in the US, black or red wires are your hot or live wires. They carry the current from the source. White wires are your neutral, completing the circuit back to the panel. And green or bare copper wires, those are your ground wires. But listen, here is a crucial warning I really want you to take away from this. Always use a multimeter to verify. Why? Well, because old installations might not follow these modern standards. I mean, someone 50 years ago might have just used whatever color wire they had left in their truck that afternoon. Never trust a color blindly. Always test.
Moving on to Section 3, planning, codes, and permits.
The absolute best electrical work doesn't start with a wire stripper in your hand. It actually starts on paper. Let's walk through this vital prep phase step by step. Step 1 is creating really detailed blueprints and wiring diagrams, literally mapping out exactly where every single switch, outlet, and panel is going to go. Step 2 is doing your load calculations. This is where you figure out the electrical requirements for each room so you know your system can actually handle the demand. Look, mapping out loads prevents you from doing something crazy like putting a high-energy HVAC system and a heavy kitchen appliance on the exact same circuit. Doing that would dangerously overload the wires and risk a major thermal breakdown. And step 3? Permitting. You've got to get that green light from local authorities to make absolutely sure everything meets legal safety standards.
And speaking of standards, adhering to the National Electrical Code, or NEC, is an absolute necessity. Look, the NEC isn't just some annoying bureaucratic red tape, it is a totally practical safeguard for life and property. And it's constantly updated based on real-world incident data. For example, the code mandates a minimum 100 amp service for a single-family home just to safely handle modern electrical demands. It also gets very specific about the materials you can use, like type NMB cable. You might know it by the brand name Romex. For residential lighting and receptacle circuits, this cable actually has to have a 90°C conductor insulation rating. Strict compliance here isn't just about passing an inspection, it quite literally ensures life safety.
Section 4. Understanding household circuits.
All right, this is the execution phase. We've planned it, we've got our permits, so now let's look at how power sources, conductive wires, and loads actually create a complete closed loop. Take a look at the wiring layout for a simple one-way light switch here. Notice how the circuit flows. The live wire, represented by that L terminal, supplies the flow of electricity right into the switch. When you flip that switch, the internal contacts meet, and boom, current travels out through the L1 terminal directly to the light bulb, lighting up your room. Finally, the neutral wire, which is labeled N in blue here, carries that current safely all the way back to the panel to complete the circuit. It's really just a beautiful, elegant loop. Now, see how this logic builds? We still have that simple one-way switch concept, but let's compare it to a two-way switch circuit. This setup allows you to control the exact same light from two totally different locations, like, say, the top and bottom of a staircase. Notice we now have three terminals, L, L1, and L2. Doing this requires running extra wires called traveler wires to carry the current between the two switches. These traveler wires are basically the secret sauce. They allow the loop to be either broken or completed from either location, totally independently of each other. So yeah, the complexity increases a bit, but the fundamental physics we talked about earlier remains exactly the same.
And finally, Section 5, Testing and Final Inspection. Look, an electrical job is not truly done until it is absolutely, undeniably proven to be safe. Before you even think about closing up those walls, these final verification procedures have to happen. First up is a continuity test using your multimeter. This ensures all your connections are solid, unbroken, and properly made. Next is an insulation resistance test. This confirms that no wires are frayed and secretly leaking current into the surrounding wooden studs. Then, you've got to test your GFCI and AFCI outlets using their built-in test features. You need to know they will instantaneously trip in a life-threatening situation. But the biggest, most crucial takeaway here is that very final step, professional inspection. Having a certified electrical inspector review your work is your ultimate safety net. It guarantees code compliance and gives you total peace of mind.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. We went from the water pipe analogy of voltage all the way to the complex diagrams of two-way switches and strict NEC codes. So, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question. After seeing the precision, the strict safety protocols, and the totally unforgiving nature of the invisible power running through your walls, are you fully equipped to handle this DIY style? Or is it time to call a certified pro? Knowing how it all works absolutely empowers you, but knowing when to call an expert, well, that keeps you alive. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep learning.